Well, Miyamoto gets another interview. He's been taking a lot of interviews this year, and they've never really helped his case so far this year. In fact, a lot of people are starting to put him on fraud watch because of some of the stuff that he says. And he's kind of been there for a while when it comes to him not wanting to do new stories or new characters with games like Paper Mario, even mainline Mario series. But recently, he's been getting a lot of flack for saying things like he was surprised that the Mario Galaxy movie didn't review that well for people, that he did all this stuff to make it better by throwing in tons of cameos and making it fast-paced, and everybody's like, that's not what we wanted, Miyamoto. He's a little strange, all right? He's got some takes that we don't all agree with, but he's had some recent interviews, and he says some more things that maybe some people may not agree with. We'll see, but let's dive into what he has to say this time. Real quick, apparently this month is my 10 years on YouTube month, which I didn't even know, which is crazy to even think about. I didn't really start making active videos, though, until like 6 years ago, so, but still, pretty cool. So to celebrate, leave a like and subscribe. We are still trying to reach our goal of 400,000, so that'd be so cool to do here on our 10th year on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's dive into the video. Now, these are some of the key points taken away from an interview with Famitsu. This all comes from Nintendo Everything, so I will try to link as many of these articles as I can down below. But Miyamoto states, some people might say there are a lot of remakes, but after 5 years, a lot of people have outgrown games and stopped playing them. Young people today don't have the opportunity to play games from 10 years ago, so remaking them to be more playable and releasing them again is a good way to meet the demand. Letting people know the original games also lead to future developments, so we've been actively pursuing that recently. Now, his reasoning for all these remakes is a little strange because he claims that this is a good way to get, a new, younger audience to play games they never had access to before. That was like 10 years ago or something. They definitely do. You look at the games that are coming out, Ocarina of Time, you have already a Nintendo 64 online with Switch Online. You can literally go play that today. Plus, you already remade the game once on the 3DS. I'm not complaining. I'm glad they're doing it again, but in a bigger, bolder way. But I'm just saying, like, you can go back and play pretty much all of these remakes so far. It's not like they're pulling a lot of 3DS games, which they should be. Those are the games you should be pulling from because they're not easily accessible right now. But Nintendo 64 games, they are. And now that you have GameCube and SO, those are also accessible. So I don't know what he's talking about. Star Fox, you can go play on Nintendo Switch Online right now. Plus, there's a 3DS remake of the game that you can find if you don't want to play that one either. There's lots of access. Plus, I mean, Nintendo doesn't want to hear this, but yeah, emulation's a thing. You can go back and play a lot of these classic games through emulation with just literally 5 minutes of time. Personally, I think he should have just said remakes help to fill in those gaps. When we are in longer development times for new mainline games, like stuff for the next 3D Zelda, it makes sense. We're not getting the next mainline Zelda for a while. We just got Tears of the Kingdom in, 2023? So having something like a big, ambitious remake is always going to be something to help tie us over. Those are the situations where I feel like it's necessary. But in some cases, when you have things like Star Fox, I feel like they still should have just made it a new game. The remake is awesome, but there was no reason for it to not be a new game when we haven't had a new one since Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. This wasn't a case of, oh, we're waiting for the next mainline game. This was just, we're waiting for Star Fox to come back. So, yeah, I feel like what he should have just said was, it's a good thing to have as you wait for your next mainline games, instead of saying, like, there's no way we have access to these past games when we definitely do. Next up, Miyamoto talks about how they come up with game ideas and how they make games, and states, so the reason Nintendo enjoys such strong global support is simply that we don't start by asking what's trending right now. Instead, we focus on who we're actually doing this for. Who is it that's putting up the money? I really dislike terms like depreciation or recouping costs. The people funding these projects are doing it to make a fortune, so why celebrate things we recouped our investment or short-term profits? To me, if you burn through the talents so many people just to achieve that, that feels like a massive failure. He goes on to state, we've always focused on creating the best possible product to match the fun gameplay we envision. I think that's the only real difference. I might sound a bit arrogant saying this, but if you make things while constantly asking, will this make money right away, you can't create anything truly unique or with broad appeal. The ideal relationship between us and the company is one where you get comments like, I'm so glad I asked you to do this. It took some time, but we made a huge profit. Ultimately, it all comes down to whether we can keep that going. After all, the most local things, like an individual's personal hobbies, are often the ones that resonate globally. Conversely, if you try to base your work on things that only seem to have broad appeal, you end up with something generic, something where you can't tell who actually made it, and that kind of thing actually lacks global strength. That's why when people at the company ask me what to do, the only advice I can offer is, you should turn your idea into a product in a way that best showcases the fact that you were the one who created it. Now, I'm not sure how true that actually is, but that's actually pretty cool if it is true that, Miyamoto is pretty much saying that they don't really just create games because they know that it's something that's trending in the world right now, something that's popular. They want to make something that also revolutionizes and something that feel like it's worthwhile and has effort and love poured into it. And it kind of makes sense when you look at, we went through a lot of things that the world was just really blowing up with. For instance, the Battle Royale craze was going crazy in like 2017 to 2020. Everybody was doing it with Fortnite and Call of Duty and all those other indie developers making Battle Royale games. And Nintendo pretty much just said, nope, we're not going to jump on that. I mean, they did a little bit with Mario 35, but it was nothing along the scope of what everybody else was doing. So yeah, they're going to go to the beat of their own drum, and it's good to hear that they still have that compassion when it comes to making games. So good on you, Miyamoto. He then goes on to state, people have long asked me, why does a mustachioed middle-aged guy like Mario sell so well? And I always think, that's a bit rude, isn't it? Well, I wonder the same thing myself. Why did an older guy like this become a hit? But if you look at it simply, it's because he was introduced alongside incredibly fun games. When we come up with new games, we start from the fundamentals. We don't begin by looking at existing games on the market and thinking, if we tweak this part or combine that element, it would be fun. Instead, we ask ourselves, why do people play games in the first place? From there, we might consider things like, what is the core appeal of the games trending right now? Or isn't this essentially the same as that old game from way back then? Or if so, couldn't we do something more with this? We start by asking, what does it actually mean for something to be fun to play? He goes on to say, Splatoon is a classic example of this. The core concept was simply what would happen if we had a game about painting an area and competing for territory. Turning that into a proper game is difficult, of course, but if the core concept had been different, the result wouldn't have turned out the way it did. Even with RPGs, if the starting point differs, if you start with a fundamental concept then shape it into an RPG, you end up with something completely different. That's exactly why Pokemon Red and Green turned out so differently from the RPGs that came before them. They were created based on Mr. Tajiri's, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, own passionate experiences with insect collecting. The desire to trade with friends for species you hadn't caught yet, and a drive to complete the collection. Once again, this is Miyamoto saying that they might find some inspiration from already existing games out there or games that have come out a long time ago, and they just want to make sure that they're adding their own unique spin to it. Like, if Nintendo is going to make an RPG, they're going to add a spin where the developer loves to collect insects, and he's going to throw that in his game, where it's about collecting and trading insects, essentially, which are now Pokemon. And once again, we've seen this with Battle Royales, where instead of having a 100-player first-person or third-person shooter, like they could have easily done that with Splatoon, they instead said, hey, what if we did a Mario 35, a 2D Battle Royale where you try to survive as long as you can? They're always innovating and taking ideas that are already out there, but doing something completely different than the rest of the industry, which is always something that we all love about Nintendo. Miyamoto is then asked about new characters turning up in some of their games, and he states, we'll be flexible in that regard, but it's good to create new characters. However, I think we need to be strict in judging whether they'll really work globally. Even during the development of Splatoon, there were times when we thought, if the characters are going to be like this, wouldn't it be better just to use Mario? And then we came up with the prototype for the Inklings that are out there now. We realized with these, there's no need to use Mario. It's been 25 years since I arrived at Pikmin, which was the result of my own pursuit of a globally appealing character. So we need to be more proactive to create new ones. I'll leave that to the younger generation. Personally, I really like this from Miyamoto. I mean, it looks like he is still actively thinking that new characters are a good thing. And it's mostly talking about specifically new IPs and new characters like they did with Splatoon. If you didn't know, Splatoon was going to be Mario characters, and then they changed it to bunny rabbits, and now they changed it to, obviously, Squid Kids. So, yeah, I really want to see new characters. Like, even though ARMS wasn't greatly received, it was still really cool to see a bunch of new faces and stuff from Nintendo. So, yeah. yeah, it just pretty much shows that Miyamoto isn't against new characters. Let's hope he stays that way when it comes to directing something like a Paper Mario or something. Now, this one was pretty strange and interesting to me. Miyamoto talks about how they develop games and states, "I don't decide everything about the lineup, but we did discuss that we have an idea to include Fox in the script of the movie," being the Super Mario Galaxy movie, "so we definitely wanted a new Star Fox game. Sometimes things get decided after we've discussed them. We started working on the first Mario movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and Princess Peach Showtime around the same time. And we talked about things like, if we have this game, shouldn't Peach be more energetic in the movie too? It was decided earlier on that Yoshi would appear in the Super Mario Galaxy movie, so we decided to make a new Yoshi game, which would be Yoshi and the Mysterious Book they'd started development on. It's a case-by-case situation, but I think we'll continue to maintain a good relationship between games and other developments." This is very interesting because we often hear and think that, no way Nintendo is going to actually have games that go alongside the movie. This is a completely different thing. No, it looks like Miyamoto even stated himself that there are specific games that they decide to make because of these films now. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book was completely decided upon because of the film. Princess Peach Showtime came out because Peach had such a prominent role in the first movie, and then obviously Yoshi in the second movie, so he gets his own game, and even Fox making returns, so they said, let's bring back Star Fox. This is kind of bittersweet, because I'm like, oh, so you only brought back Star Fox because of the movie? Like, was it not time for Star Fox to come back regardless? This is actually kind of making me think maybe those rumors of there being 2 Star Fox games in development actually be true? What if they had a brand new Star Fox being worked on for years, even before the movie stuff, and then once the movie happened, they're like, hey, let's get something out right now that, fans can immediately jump on a Star Fox with, like a remake of 64. Dude, that'd be so cool. But yeah, it still makes me wonder, like, okay, you did Yoshi because of the Mario movie, you did Star Fox because of the Mario movie. Was 3D Mario not on the table? I gotta bring it up. You know I have to bring this up. It's just like, wouldn't that have been a really big thing to do? Sure, you had the Mario Galaxy games come out again, but like, wouldn't it have been really cool to have a new 3D Mario to come out alongside the movie? Maybe that tells us right there that the new Mario is not going to be Mario Galaxy 3 the way everybody's talking, because would that not have come out for the movie this year? You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe Nintendo's like, this game has nothing to do with Galaxy. Let's not include it as part of the movie celebration stuff. So I don't know. Regardless, I think we can maybe expect things like if that Luigi's Mansion thing actually is happening, maybe we'll get a Luigi's Mansion game around the same time. So who knows? Now to wrap up, Miyamoto talks about retirement and Mii's. Yep, when asked if he's interested at all in directing games again, like the next big Mario or Zelda, Miyamoto says, "Right now, I'm not really thinking about it, but with Pikmin Bloom, I got involved because I wanted to make it myself, so depending on the theme, if I can do something interesting with it, there might come a time when I want to do it. I have the know-how. Nowadays, if you want to make one game, you have to get 200 people involved, so it's tough. Movies are also big productions, and in those cases, the procedural people are the ones who keep the production running. The producers on set are really busy though." Famitsu asks if there's anything that Miyamoto really wants to pursue, and he states, "I don't really have anything specific in mind. I would be happy if I could start a movement where everyone and their dog joins in, but there's nothing that I feel like I'm going to see through to the end. My family is telling me, isn't it about time you stopped?" And he laughs. Miyamoto is 74 years old, which I didn't even know, which is getting sad, man. He's getting up there, man. We're about to lose Miyamoto, which I know he isn't really heading the 3D Marios or Zeldas or anything anymore, but still, he's just such an iconic person at Nintendo. I mean, he's Mario. He's Mr. Mario. Miyamoto talks about him continuing, saying the feeling of, "I hope we can keep going," fits perfectly. On set, we say things like, "It wouldn't be surprising if I collapsed tomorrow, so make sure you're okay. I just hope we can keep going without any problems." That's pretty dark, Miyamoto. Don't chill. He then closes by talking about Mii characters of all things and says what's interesting is that Westerners really put a lot of effort into their creation of Miis. In the past, it was said that Miis weren't necessarily designed to suit the faces of Westerners, so I'm happy about this. I think it would be really interesting if this wasn't limited to Pikmin Bloom, but could be linked with Nintendo accounts and we could collect hundreds of millions of Miis. He said Miis use very little memory. Nintendo is a company that is very particular about how to achieve the maximum effort with as little memory as possible. Normally, an avatar can easily take up several megabytes, but Miis are made up of only a few hundred bytes. This compact design started with the specification of wanting to fit dozens of people into a Wii controller, and with this, even if we had hundreds of millions of them, they would probably all fit into that small amount of memory. Wouldn't it be interesting if, in the future, Mii characters were attached to personal IDs all over the world? I can't help but wonder if that'll ever happen. I've been talking about something that sounds like a trade secret, but this is the kind of thing that should be spread around. Thinking about things like that makes every day fun. So yeah, now we know when Miyamoto is in his bed alone at night, he's thinking about world domination by Miis. Yeah, he's talking like even like personal IDs, having Miis that are tied to your accounts and stuff would be crazy. Like your passport, your driver's license, your everything. A little credit card with a picture of your Mii on it. Like, could you imagine if Nintendo ever grew to that level of like world domination where everyone you knew was walking around with their own virtual Mii character that was tied to all their accounts and stuff and socials? That would be so crazy, dude. But yeah, I mean, I'm down for it, man. That sounds like a cool thing. Maybe with Switch Sports Resort, it helps to usher that in, or you use sports mates instead of Miis. Maybe the sports mates take over now. It's about the takeover of the sports mates. But let me know what you think of these interviews down below. Thankfully, it doesn't really feel like Miyamoto did anything bad this time. He actually had some pretty good interviews. Nothing negative really to take away from it besides him talking like no one can play past games anymore for some reason without a remake. Like Nintendo Switch's online isn't a thing. But yeah, let me know what you thought down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. See you guys.